Hi there, this is Dr. John Whitcomb talking about novel strategies for coronavirus prevention. And we're going to talk about vitamin C and vitamin D today. So first let's do C. Why vitamin C and how does it help? Well, one of the central tenets of the corona infection or damage is that you get this remarkable low oxygen saturation when you check your oxygen with a little finger monitor that fits on your finger. And folks actually feel okay, but their oxygen saturation will be like 70, when normally in normal conditions, you will have an oxygen saturation of 92 when you're in trouble. And normal should be 99. If you don't have a finger meter, get one, because it's a good way of monitoring that. What we do know is it appears that the COVID virus feasts on the hemoglobin molecule and attaches itself in some way or other to the heme complex. And in that context, it may be the inflammation, but your ferritin, which is your serum iron, which comes out of heme, goes sky high with COVID. And that's one of the monitors of how sick you're going to be, is your ferritin. Well, that sort of suggests why hydroxychloroquine may work, because in fact the malaria parasite attacks the hemoglobin molecule. And the same process. So it's not too far-fetched to see why chloroquine may work in some people if you're protecting the hemoglobin molecule by chloroquine, not through traditional antibiotic mechanisms that mess up the cell wall structure or metabolism inside the cell. This is a completely different mechanism, but it does give some credence to that suggestion. Why would vitamin C protect you? Well, when you release iron, iron's a deadly oxidant. It's really a powerful oxidant, and so for that you need antioxidants, and vitamin C is a plentiful, bountiful antioxidant. It's so powerful that it helps turn off cytokine storms. IV vitamin C has been tested in some studies from China and has been found to be helpful. We're waiting for large studies. There's a couple being done out of New York. I'd like to see them reported. But right now, I'm taking vitamin C every day, 1 gram a day. Let's move on to vitamin D. Vitamin D is a curious hormone. It basically helps you turn stem cells into mature cells. That's its core function. And you get it from sunlight, only from sunlight. A few food sources where it's been artificially added, like milk, or cod liver oil. Cod liver oil was the original cure for vitamin D deficiency, rickets, back in the 1920s, when about 50% of children had rickets. A tablespoon of fish cod liver oil had 400 units of vitamin D, and that's why we have 400 units in our modern vitamin pill, because that reverses rickets. Is that optimal? Well, if you're African American or anybody with any pigment in your skin, you need more and more sunlight. In fact, there is pretty good evidence. The reason Caucasians have light skin is to allow them to adapt to living in Europe, where there's much, much less sunshine. Whereas folks who live right next to the equator have darker skin to protect them from the dangers of too much sun, which damages other vitamins, folate, for example. So African Americans need 6 times as much sunlight to get the same vitamin D. What happens if they move to northern cities in America? Their vitamin D levels are roughly 6 to 15. I know that because I've personally measured over 500 vitamin D levels when I was an emergency doctor, and African Americans are in the range of 10 to 15 in Milwaukee. Caucasians are 20 to 25. But there is multiple studies showing that your body does not produce the natural antibiotics you make, called cathelicidin. That's a peptide your body makes that punctures a hole in the wall of viruses and bacteria and fungi and kills them. That's your own natural antibiotic. You don't make any until your blood level is 32. Oh dear. Well, that's why people used to get with tuberculosis, for example. Used to go to the mountains where it was high up in the mountains. They'd sit out in the sun. They thought it was the mountain air. It wasn't. It was the thin atmosphere. You get more UVB rays and get vitamin D. So sunshine used to help tuberculosis. It still helps tuberculosis. It helps HIV. It helps coronavirus. My hypothesis is the African American community is incredibly lacking in vitamin D. This is a crisis. Every African American, every Middle Easterner, every Persian, Indian, South Asian, Australian Aborigine, anybody who has pigment in their skin and lives indoors needs to compensate for that by taking vitamin D. You can safely take 100,000 units, a one-time dose to boost your level up. We should probably all be on long-term 5,000 units a day, but it takes a year to get your blood level up starting at 5,000. You need a loading dose. Please, please take a loading dose to get started. Okay, that's vitamin C and vitamin D. I'm on both of them. You should be too. This is just standard good health care. And then maybe you'll do better when coronavirus comes to your neck of the woods. This is Dr. John Whitcomb talking about novel strategies to fight back against the coronavirus.